because they now miss on European football. Leicester City have taken the Europa League spot. And in Italy, like we said, the champions are Inter Milan, and Juventus had to wait until the last day to seal the Champions League spot there. Now, we want to shift gears and get into our discussion. And you remember, this week, there has been an outpouring of grief following the passing on of rugby great Benjamin Ayimba. President Uhuru Kenyatta led Kenyans in paying tribute to the former Kenya Sevens head coach who died on Friday night at a Nairobi hospital. The president recalled the late athlete's successes in rugby, especially in 2016 when he led Shujaa to the 2016 Singapore Sevens title trip after upsetting heavyweights Fiji 37 in the final. The Standard newspaper described Ayimba as a simple boy who took Kenyan rugby to the skies. Now, KTN Sports Chat today talked to three people who had a professional relationship with the fallen hero. They are Mike Kwambo, who is the media officer at Kenya Rugby Union, and also Fred Olos, a former Impala captain where Ayimba's career started and is now currently a world rugby trainer. We also have Rogers Eshtemi, a writer and sub-editor at The Standard, who will join us at a later stage. But now I would like to welcome Fred Olos as well as Mike Kwambo. Gentlemen, are you on the line?
Yes, we are on the line.
Yes, Robin, we are on the line.
Yes, Mike, I can see you there. Let me start with you, first of all, Olos. What did you make of the passing of Benjamin Ayimba, who has been celebrated by many across this country as well as the rugby world?
Absolutely heartbreaking. Absolutely heartbreaking. And for us at the Olos family, we have got to know Benjamin's mom also. Benjamin's mother is a very good friend of my own mom. So in our house, we knew her. So, our condolences go to her because, it must be a great, great pain to lose a child. Even before we talk about all these rugby good things that Benjamin did. But Benjamin was absolutely passionate about rugby. In fact, he was clear in his mind that he wants to live off rugby and really nothing else. So it's an absolute loss for us in the rugby fraternity, and generally, even in the environment of his own family, where he was a real mover. So yes, I cannot think of anything else but the heartbreaking level of this particular news.
Well, heartbreaking, as you say, because he touched many lives of young rugby players who aspired to play for Kenya. Now, Mike Kwambo, you were so close working together with Benjamin Ayimba. You also played alongside him. What did you make of the week?
It was equally heartbreaking, of course, to the family, to the rugby fraternity, and to the general sports fraternity. This is somebody who, a relationship that we had, extended professionalism. I mean, this was somebody who was like a big brother. I remember when I joined Impala, I found Fred Olos, Benjamin, they welcomed me into the club. I ended up having a great 4 seasons there before moving on to KCB. But even after that, we've remained friends. I mean, we still interact with Fred, and we interacted a lot with Benja. So it was a big, big loss. And to the family, to the friends, I just send my heartfelt condolences and urge them for strength at this particular time.
Well, heartbreaking there. Olos, I'd like to come to you. And, the moment a great person like Ayimba, passes on, we know all that is his life, professional life, adult life. He's been into rugby. And Kenyans, have come to embrace rugby as one of that sports that bring Kenyans, together over the last, how many years, 8 or so. Anytime Kenya is involved in a rugby match, especially in the IRB Sevens matches, you see people, congregating in restaurants, pubs, watching Kenya. And this is a man that you really feel that Kenyans are going to miss a great deal because he made them, love the game. How big is that void?
It's a really, really big void. I remember talking rugby with Benjamin when we were still being kicked out of primary schools or other schools, whenever it is that we were trying to introduce the game. And, you feel like every time of the game in the last 20 years, there has always been Benjamin Ayimba in one shape or form. Benjamin took over from me as captain at Impala, and I joined the club in 1996. In 97, I was the captain. But after that, we knew that the team must go forward, and then we needed somebody who would take the leadership and communicate with his age mates at a much closer level. And it didn't take a lot of hunting before we settled on Benjamin, and he took and ran with it. So this void is quite big. I mean, there's a lot of kids all over the country. Right now, I'm in a rural area right now, and the little kids who know that I have been involved in rugby have all been talking about Benjamin Ayimba, and they want to know a bit more about him and all these things. So the void is actually quite big, and one doesn't realize it. Like when he was still in hospital, and we're trying to get the best care for him. It didn't cross anyone's mind at any point that he could pass away. But now it feels there's a big emptiness or an empty feeling that one gets just thinking that, there will be no Benjamin Ayimba. But he's run his race and he's run it well. If you are called into the world to, sweep the streets, and you sweep it the way Benjamin has swept his street, then, we can only say that congratulations to him for having done such a fantastic job, and certainly he will forever be in our hearts.
In our hearts, I can see Rogers Eshtemi has logged in. I don't know if he can hear me. Rogers, are you there? Well, you could unmute your mic, Rogers, but then let me talk to Mike Kwambo. Having such a professional relationship with Ayimba, every other time you get to meet with him, early in the morning, there's a workout, there's all that, preparing the Kenyan team for the international assignments. How did you just, interact with each other the very first time you meet at the training ground?
By the time we were getting into the professional interactions, we had already had that relationship, like I told you earlier, from club playing days. And for me, Benja was like a mentor. He was like a big brother. He, in fact, gave me my nickname that Fredo knows very well, Shoes. There's a story behind that. So there was something. But other than that, when it came down to interacting now on his professional terms, it was good. He treated you with openness. There was always an open door. There was always a willingness to share communication. He'd even come and ask for advice from you. I remember Hong Kong's Sevens in 2016, when Kenya barely got out of the group stages. He came and asked what are the permutations. And I think in the last full game, they played well. They got to the quarters, lost to Fiji. But the next weekend, they were winning in Singapore. So that was Benjamin, an open-minded person, somebody who wanted the best for everybody. And he didn't discriminate in terms of status or anything. Whether he was the head coach and you are the sweeper or the cleaner, it didn't matter. Everybody was welcome, and that was the kind of interaction that he had with people on and off the field of play.
Yeah, despite his status, he's a superstar of sorts. But then Rogers Eshtemi, you had a powerful piece in the Sunday Standard where you say that this is a simple boy who rose, to take the Kenyan rugby to the skies. Could you please just put into perspective, if you hear me, put into perspective how Ayimba, took the Kenyan game to the skies?
I think Ayimba was an easy man. He was actually a man of the people, literally. Because just like what Kwamba said, Ayimba was always there for the media. He could give you an interview anytime. For the journalists who came into the industry And Ayimba welcomed them, made them feel easy. For those who never knew rugby, he made it easy for them to know rugby. And it was not only on the pitch. He popularized this game on the other side by organizing these tournaments like the Masaku Sevens, the Tui Sevens. He's a man who introduced a number of these players onto the international stage. The likes of Samuel Yech, the like of Frank Wanyama, Jeffrey Oluoch, all those players were introduced at the World Series level by this man called Benjamin Ayimba. Looking at his journey, nobody maybe never that one day is the man who will help Kenya win its first ever World Series title. But came 2016, he did it. Before then, I think he had helped Kenya to reach the World Cup semifinals and also its first ever World Series final back in 2009. So indeed, Ayimba did a lot of this country, way back from Maseno, where he started his career. I think from what his high school coach said, Ayimba outdid him in coaching career. And he was really proud of that man.
Really proud. And this a very important point that you've made there, that for any young journalist that got into the game, tried to cover the game, and maybe one did not understand, the rules, the rugby as a game, that he made it easy for them to understand that. And I think I would learn to attest to that, because my closest interaction with him was also when he organized the Masaku Sevens, and we worked closely because the Standard Group at the time was one of the media sponsors of that event. And I can say really that he's a man that stood up when it mattered most, and he actually guided the young journalists, all those who are interested in the sport, and that is exactly what happened. Now, Fred Oloz, you said that when you joined Impala, you found him there, but then it was at his formative years of playing the game at the highest level. I don't know, what qualities did you see in him that after that, the armband went down, or he took up the armband from you as the Impala captain? What are those qualities that everyone must have seen in Ayimba that would later serve him best in the rugby world?
Well, Robin, first of all, he was very absorbed in the game. He was a strong character. He loved his sport totally. But he also had a lot of leadership qualities. I mean, he was a people person. He was empathetic. He really cared about what was going on in people's lives. And he had a very good grasp of the technical game. He was almost absolutely the right person for that particular moment. So yes, a very strong character, very passionate, very, capable of listening, asking the right questions. His character was basically what drove his being absorbed into the captaincy and the leadership role that then eventually ended up taking Impala to really great heights, and himself and Kenya Sevens to the heights that eventually we saw.
Interesting. And many have also said that he was a straight-talking coach, that he wouldn't sugarcoat things, because he wanted the game to reach the heights that he always dreamed of. Remember, taking this country to the semi-finals of Rugby Sevens World Cup, also winning the Singapore Sevens. That is where he envisaged, the country to be playing at that level. I don't know, Mike, from working with him, did he come across as an abrasive person or a firm person that would always, fight for the Kenyan game?
I wouldn't term him as abrasive. I would have termed him as a firm person. I would look at him more as a brilliant man manager, because this is a gentleman who spoke life into you, even at times when you didn't believe. I mean, before Kenya got to the semi-final of the Rugby World Cup Sevens in Dubai in 2009, Nigel Stammers-Smith, legendary rugby commentator, asked Ayimba what he thinks of Kenya's performances. And Benja actually told him, Kenya is going to win this thing. And, you know, everybody looked at him bewildered. But what happened? Kenya eventually went and defeated Fiji, knocking them out of the tournament. They got to the semi-final. It was no mean fluke. And then, you know, this was on around the same time that the team also got to the final of the Adelaide Sevens. So that was Benja for you. He would speak life into you. He'd bring the brilliance out of you. He'd tell you believe it. And not only on the field of play, but in everything else. That was a Benja that I knew. Somebody who spoke life. He was always keen on uplifting others. So for me, he was firm. He was a good man manager. To the point. No beating around the bush.
Look at that. There's an image that is playing now on your screen there. Ayimba just behind the Kenyan players as they celebrate that Singapore 7 victory. You see how the players were dancing, you know, relaxed, enjoying the game, Eshtemi. And you've just said that he made the journalists, you know, feel at home, you know, covering the national team. How important is that from a coach, from somebody in that position? How important is it to make the players relax, to make the journalists relax so that they cover the game?
He was actually part of the game. Like I said earlier, whether on the pitch or off the pitch, because the players felt part of the team with him being on the technical bench, he inspired them. He gave them those motivation, whether they were down or were up. But then of it all, he wanted the good out of them so that they can continue making the country proud. And Benja, whenever you give him a call, or he gets your missed call or text, definitely he will get back to you. He was easily accessible. So I feel he was that down to earth man who could understand what somebody is going through and how he can help him. And I feel we have really lost a great man who maybe the Kenyan rugby will always feel indebted to. Because apart from maybe him being a coach, he was also maybe an analyst for international media that also marketed our game. So that is a really big
loss, and especially to his family, to his children, to his relatives and friends. I know it's a difficult time for them, and also a difficult time for Kenyan rugby. Fredo Laws, if you ask me, now that you played with him, you've gone into coaching. Now you are a world rugby trainer. I don't know. Where do we move from here now that Ayimba is out of the picture? Where does our game head to? And what lessons can we take from Ayimba's life to develop our game?
Robin, as I said earlier on, you know, we now have to, I mean, Benjamin has run his race and we must now continue. I remember that in 2006, when we were considering which people to next move the game forward after Bill Gidinji, I mean, it was a straightforward sort of decision, where we decided that we would take Benjamin Ayimba, we take Oscar Osir and Felix Ochieng now to run with the game. And certainly as people who had been dyed the wool sports people, and they did very well. But as it is right now, there is quite a few people who have been entrenched in the game, and we'll just have to trudge along. I mean, we are right now planning his final journey, but I think the staff of the game, the staffing of the game is such that the potentiality has been increased to such a level that it will be possible to now continue from the point Benjamin has left. There's a lot of coaches all over the country now. There are a lot of educators. There are a lot of trainers. So he has run his race. He's run it well. And the biggest thing that a good manager likes to see, a good leader likes to see, is succession. I think wherever Benjamin is right now, looking down on the rest of the fraternity, he'll be having that, gentle smile that he had, and very proud of where the game is at the moment. And it is almost certain that, like we ask people to turn up for Benja, that the game will continue to the new heights and levels that will make him proud.
Make us proud. And before his death, Mike, at some point he had also moved on after there were changes within the Kenya Rugby Union, the setup, and he felt that this game is big. He actually diversified, and at some point he was appointed as one of the technical directors or directors of Kenya Rugby Football League. I don't know what you make of that. This is a man that his life was always rugby. If there were opportunities, limited opportunities, he thought that we should be able to bake a bigger cake. And that is why he ventured out into the Rugby Football League, which is at its formative years. What did you say that speaks to his character and the desire to make the Kenyan game, go big?
Just shows you Benja was ambitious. He was always thinking forward. He was always looking for the next opportunity to make the most of it. And going into rugby league, in my opinion, would have been something beautiful in the sense that we're not looking at it as a competition to rugby union, but rather as something that complements the sport. Because anywhere else in the world, much as they are two yet separate different entities of rugby, they complement each other. We've seen players cross over from either discipline to have success. And probably that's what he was trying to do, because not everybody is going to fit in the rugby union space. There are probably going to be those who fit in the rugby league space, but eventually use it as an opportunity to probably create names for themselves and make international appearances either in rugby league or rugby union. That was Benja for you, always looking for opportunities to just make things better, not only for himself, but for everybody else. That was the Benja that I knew, the leader, the person always looking to pave the way for others.
Okay, Eshtemi, he was always, fighting for the players' rights, ensuring that everyone was happy. Of course, he understood how difficult it was for the Kenyan game to attract sponsorship. But for the little that was, he always ensured that all his players were catered for.
Absolutely. He never missed his mind. He never missed his words completely. I remember there's a moment he clashed with the union officials, mostly over players' rights. There's a time he stood firm, and he was against the senior players being skilled in the National Safari Sevens. And unfortunately, that led to his sacking. And also when it came to players' allowances and salaries, Benja was always in the front run to fight for them. And it is because of these things, and that's why he made maybe friends and foes at the same times, because there are those who felt like maybe he's crossing the boundary. But as a coach, as a person who played the game, a person who captained the national teams, he knew exactly what he was doing. And I remember also Toskin, I think, was it last year or 2 years ago?
Yeah.
When he was planning to reapply for the vacancy seat at the Kenya Sevens. And he told me the union is not doing justice for the Kenyan game, because he felt Kenya had many professional coaches whom the union should invest in and pay better, instead of going for the foreigners whom they pay a lot of money, but they leave a very little impact on the game. And he said, if by then, I think Pau Murunga was the coach, And he was earning, I think, between 300 monthly. Unlike the foreigners who are earning like $500,000 or so. So for him, that was not making sense. It's better for them to be given the job because they know the terrain of the Kenyan rugby very well, and they can continue taking the game to the next level. And consistency was always the word for him. If you remain consistently on the technical bench, of course you'll get the fruits. The same scenario we had with Namcos. Yeah, Namcos came after Ayimba was sacked way back in 2016. And then after that, after his firmness, he clashed with the federation, with the union officials, and that led to his exit. And then they went back for him. I think by doing that, they slowed down the game, and that is what Benja didn't like. He fought for the right of the game.
Yes, Eshtemi, that is well put there. And I would like to ask the two, Fred Oloz and Mike Kwambo, to react to what Eshtemi has just said. And how do you think it improved maybe the thinking of the federation, the union? You know, did he expand the democratic space within the federation and also brought in the new thinking in terms of player contracts and how the players have to be remunerated? Maybe I start with you, Fred Oloz.
Well, you know, Benjamin was always a forthright person. There's no question that, you know, in his mind, player welfare was a big thing. So to that extent, of course, he moved the cheese in that direction. But as you know, in general, rugby as a whole, you know, people have very strong opinion. And therefore, I mean, whereas there maybe have been times when, you know, the resources just didn't allow, but what credit you have to give him is that, you know, Benjamin always spoke his mind. You never be left, you know, second guessing or wondering what it is that he meant. In that way, it was very easy to negotiate or deal with him. Because, you know, it also called on whoever it is that was doing the negotiations to be direct and also to give him a clear answer. So his contribution in that sense is important, and way you can downplay it. You know, player welfare is what it is all about now. I mean, it's all the rage. And anyway, those are the people who are on the field. And again, that from his own experience of having been an excellent player, which he took then to the technical bench, and you can see all these accolades that he has. So to my mind, you know, it's not a problem that he had very strong opinions. It's not an issue in a game like rugby because anyway, many people have their own formed opinions. But of course, as you know, the man biting the dog is always the big news, and so his opinion was always found acres of space, and that's a good thing because then we knew where the player situation always was. That's really my view on that Eshitemi piece.
Mike Kwambo, because we are running out of time, could you please react to that? And as a communications guy, you always had to communicate something to the public anytime Ayimba would raise issues.
Yeah, obviously, that was Benja for you, always speaking his mind, always making things clear. And like Fred has put it, you know, the fact that he was clear in what he wanted to be done, both for him and for the team, obviously with time led to improved welfare situations. For example, when Kenya Airways came in to sponsor the team heavily, you could see improved terms for the players. That was obviously not something that had been taken lightly. They had obviously heard what you're saying. And I mean, credit to Benza for that, for opening up that space, and also for ensuring that we're now able to look inwards in terms of trusting our local technical benches to carry the Kenyan game forward, both in the 7s and 15s versions of the games.
Gentlemen, I would like us to leave it at that and just hope that, well, He's come to the world stage, he's done his bit, he's gone. Now our game remains, and whoever has been left behind in charge of the game, that they will take the rugby, the Kenyan rugby, to the skies, as Htemi aptly put it there, because already Ayimba, as simple as he was, took the Kenyan game to the skies. We hope it will remain there and improve as time goes by. I want to thank you, gentlemen, Fredo Loz, the world rugby trainer, Rogers Htemi, who is a writer and sub-editor at The Standard, as well as Mike Kwambo, who is a communications officer at the Kenya Rugby Union. Until next time, guys, we'll keep asking you for your thoughts. Now, I'd like to welcome back my colleague, Jesse Rogers, who I can see is now in the studio. Jesse, we've been talking about Ayimba, a great man this country has lost.
Yeah, I must say that was an informative discussion, especially for the sports fans who are not well acclimatized with what happens behind the scenes. So Ayimba definitely played his role. We definitely hope the people who are left in charge continue with where he left off to take Kenyan rugby even higher. Many thanks for that informative discussion. Well, and it marks the end of Morning Express right here on KTN News. Always a pleasure to be